Hi, David Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete. This is our first day on the job and we're going to be filling in that raised planter area with concrete, so the driveway is going to get wider. They got a poured in place concrete curb there. It was not very well done initially, as you can tell by looking at it. So I'm anticipating that'll come out pretty easily. That little piece of concrete is going to come out on that side gate. Then we're going to remove this walkway over here on the other side, and we're going to widen the walkway and get rid of that bark. We're going to pour the new walkway right up against the house, so it'll be a little bit wider, and then you won't have that little 1 foot bark area. That front porch right there is going to stay. Notice how you have that 2-inch trip hazard there. We're going to get rid of that. We'll raise the new sidewalk up flush, so eliminate that little detail. And since we're widening this driveway out, the backyard or the side yard is much lower than the garage floor, and we're going to be matching the driveway and garage floor height, which means it's going to be higher. The new concrete on that side over there is going to be higher, so we're going to have to put a drain in. And here's the Vermeer CX100, and it went right down that 3-foot walkway real easily, and you can see it broke it up. And we'll take out this little bit of concrete here because we're going to be widening this section also. This concrete I'm removing is only about 3 inches thick. It wasn't put in very thick initially, but it's lasted a long time, 30 years plus. Now here's the concrete coring. We're going to put a hole through that curb and run the drain. Now this particular guy here, he made all his little coring devices that work real nice. He put them on a big drill. Now he can push all the way under all this stuff under the sidewalk, below the sprinkler line. Even though that sprinkler line is going to get abandoned, we're going to get rid of that because there won't be water on this side anymore. So you just push through and the water's shooting through. And there it is. The auger came through. So he's got that set up kind of like on a vise, where he can turn it and crank it into the curb. He'll put the truck behind it. That way, as he cranks it into the curb, it won't just push out into the street. It'll just push up against his tire. That's a 3.5-inch OD on that core bit there. It's diamond blade. So the reason we had to get that drain in there before we put the concrete is because once the concrete goes in there, there's no way to get a drain into the backyard. So this will be stubbed up just beyond my concrete on that side yard there, just inside the gate. And then he can continue the drain all the way around the back, because it's a real mess in the backyard with the work that's been done there as well. So that's going to all come out, but that's phase 2. And then we'll tie in more drains, maybe some downspout adapters for the gutters, stuff like that, to try to get the water out quick when it does rain, which is rare. So we're going to drill into this driveway with some rebar dowels. That way when we put the concrete in, it'll stay at the same level as the driveway. That brick ribbon right there is actually on the neighbor's property, so we don't want to remove that. I already talked to him about moving his car and stuff like that, but the car doesn't run apparently, and it's got a couple flat tires, so it's just gonna stay right where it is and then we're gonna work around it a little bit. which is no problem. So we had quite a bit of dirt coming out of there because it was raised. As you can see from the gate there, how much lower that concrete on the side yard is than the driveway. And we don't want to slope the driveway to match that, because it'll also be below, it'll be end up below the neighbor's driveway, which would be a real mess. So we're going to actually be higher than the side yard, a step up out of the side yard temporarily until that side yard gets reworked. Makes it difficult to bring the trash cans out of the backyard with the step there, but he has a back door going through the garage. He can roll it through there. It's all same level. Now we're down about 14 inches with this pipe, and for the time being we'll just put a 90 on there. It's not going to be glued, so when we end up extending that pipe, we can just pull that 90 off and pop them up wherever we want with some T's and stuff like that. So since we brought the sidewalk level up to match that front porch, we had to bring in a little dirt, which we got plenty of dirt from the raised planter bed that was on the other side of the driveway. So we built it up a couple inches so we could get rid of that little trip hazard. So that's why we're compacting it, because we put some loose dirt in there. Now, hadn't I brought dirt in, you probably wouldn't have needed to compact. It's been settling for years. So it would have been undisturbed soil, in other words. Now we're going to fill in this side of the driveway also. And the driveway's on a slope, and then you have these landings that are steps. So it's going to be a little funky, because you're going to get steps that start at the height of that brick, which is like 3 inches to 0. As you come down on those landings, it'll be 3 to 0 on the side profile. That way the driveway stays the same slope straight across. He had been parking his van there in that dirt right along the edge, so it really got really well wheel rolled and compacted by the vehicle. Now I'm setting a 2x4 there, because that's going to be the step down. That's about a 4-inch step down. We're going to use number 3 rebar on 2-foot centers. Our dowels are actually every 4 feet. So every other bar we put a dowel. And what they'll do is make sure that the concrete doesn't separate from each other or lift or raise. Also, we're going to add some fiber mesh to the concrete truck when it arrives on the job site. And I just add that into the truck, dump it in the top. I use about a pound of fire mesh per yard. This is also going to be a 3000 psi. Now you can see that red snap line on that 2x4. That's actually going to be the top of concrete there, because that's the slope of the driveway. Now the funny thing about that porch right there is that it slopes towards the house. So now that we're joining it with a walkway, it's going to be sloped towards the house in that corner. So what we have to do is create a little valley coming out of that corner to the side where the 2x4 is. A little swell. So we'll go below the form a little bit on the one edge to get the water out of that corner. And we're using the 4-foot Milwaukee red stick to rod this off, which comes in handy because you can check your slope at the same time just to make sure that you have slope away from the building or wherever you want it to slope. Now we changed up to the 6-footer here. I put some oil on these forms too before I poured. I just sprayed it on there, but I don't. That wasn't on the video because we did that early in the morning, day of the pour. And that's just some used motor oil that I saved from changing the oil in my truck. And I just sprayed on the side of the form. It works like a charm. Preserves the wood too, so you can use it multiple times. That downspout right there, we had to take the bottom fitting off. It had a 90 there, but it was too low, so we had to remove it. You don't want to pour those into the concrete, otherwise the water won't come out of them. So this board that I'm using has a crown in it, and I chose that one because I wanted to have a crown. That way we know that the water's not going to puddle on it. So we've poured everything out, and now we're going back to bowl float. You can see as the water started to come up on this, as it just sat here. That's a 4-foot magnesium bowl float with a little rocker arm on it. I like to run bowl floats both ways, wherever it's possible. Then you know it's flat if you can do that. The way I set those boards on top of the existing concrete is I used the 3/16 diameter Tapcon screws, pre-drilled 2 holes on each form, and then I just screwed in a Tapcon into the concrete, so real minimal hole in the concrete. That's a walking edger. It's actually 10 inches wide. It's got a 1/2 inch radius on it. Half inch is pretty standard. Some areas will use a 3/4 inch edge, but 1/2 inch is probably the most common. Now we're just going to use a sponge on the edges of the driveway to clean up the excess overflowage. Water and sponge to clean that up. Well, that's my cutter, and that goes about 2.5 inches deep. Separates all the aggregate pretty deep. Actually, the final joiner will only be a 1/2 inch deep, but since we've separated the aggregate all the way down, there's a more likely that it's going to crack on that control joint. So here's your final joiner right here. Now that's only about 3/4 deep with a 1/2 inch radius. Now throwing Big Blue on here. Knock out all the edger lines and joint lines. This is the funny float. It's a magnesium. Rounded ends. Now we're going to go to the funny trowel, which is a trowel that's connected to a pole. It's getting pretty close now to a finished product. That joint just continues off the existing joint that's already in the driveway. So that form came away really clean because of the motor oil I put on it. So there wasn't a whole lot of work to do on that edge. Just a little troweling, and that does the trick. Here's your broom, your final finish. It gives it a non-slip finish because it can get slippery when it's wet without this finish on there. This broom is 50% nylon and 50% horsehair, specifically designed for concrete. He's going down it with his plywood sliders or plywood knee boards. So this is your final product right here. Next step is to come back the next day, remove the forms, pressure wash everything, and then you have finished product. Thanks for watching. If you like these kind of videos, make sure you subscribe, and don't forget to hit the like button and the bell. If you hit the bell, you'll get notified as soon as I upload these videos. Thanks. Have a good day.